In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how you guys can easily create some nice minimal photography right at home on your coffee table. I'm going to go and get started. I'll see you in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Through the magic of video editing, you've already seen the image that I'm going to be taking today, a nice minimal shot of some driftwood on maybe a white or grey background. I'm not quite sure yet, and you can see my process that I'm going to go through step by step on how I created that image, ready to enter into our little competition that we're running over on the Facebook group. Now obviously I can't win the competition, but I'm going to enter anyway just for a little bit of fun, and I'm going to be showing you everything that I do to create that nice image of minimalist background with that piece of wood in the middle, my whole thought process and all of the equipment that I use and the techniques that we're going to use. I'm going to go and grab some equipment now and start setting up down on my coffee table. So I've got this little piece of driftwood here. It's been sat hiding on my shelf, holding up some very dusty ornaments for a while, but it's here now to provide me with a little bit of texture which can contrast nicely with plain white or maybe grey background. The way that I'm going to achieve all of this is by shooting down from the top. So the first thing that I've got out is my tripod. I'm going to be setting my camera up on a tripod, pointing downwards onto my coffee table, which is down here. Under the camera where my bit of wood is going to go, I need a background. To provide that, I'm going to be using just a simple sheet of white paper. Now I've used this technique a couple of times before, and the reason that we're using paper is because it's semi-translucent. This is a glass-topped coffee table. My paper can easily have light shine through it, and that means that I can place a light underneath the surface of my coffee table and it will shine up through my paper, illuminating the background. I'm going to be placing my piece of wood up on the top of my paper here, but I want to have a little bit of separation between the foreground, the piece of wood, and the background. To do that, I'm simply going to place my wood up on a little stool. This is a little piece of plastic that's going to be translucent, so it's not going to create too many shadows, and it's going to hold my wood up off the surface so that it stands away from the background. That's going to be really important when we get to our lighting. For now, I'm going to pop my camera on and start framing up, see what this looks like without any lighting. So I have my initial framing, and some of you will probably be surprised at how far out we are, how wide this shot is. And that's because I'm not even using a macro lens for this. I wanted to get quite a lot of my background in so that I'm able to crop it to my liking later on. I'm using my 50mm Sony lens, which has great sharpness, and it's also f2, so if we really want to blur out the background, we have that option, especially because our subject is stood away from the background. It does look a little bit dull at this stage. I think adding some lighting is going to be the absolute key to this type of shot, so I'm going to go and grab an Adaptalux Studio and start plugging in a few lighting arms. This is not the most simple lighting setup that I've ever done. It's quite a flexible one though. What I've got here is a single white lighting arm plugged into a pod down here underneath the table. That's shining up through that piece of paper and creating a spotlight right underneath my piece of wood. That's going to give me a nice gradient on my background and maybe a bit of a vignetting effect on the paper. So I think that might be quite interesting for our background. For our foreground though, we need to think about our lighting independently. For that, I've got this other control pod sat up here with two lighting arms, both diffused. These are lighting arm S's, so they're nice and bright, and we have the ability to dim them down and balance them against that background if we need to. What that's going to do is light up my piece of wood. I'm going to be able to move these in all sorts of different ways to change the balance and the way that my light is falling on my wood, because I want to try and capture quite a lot of contrast, not only in the wood itself, but between the wood and my background. This is going to take a lot of fine tuning, moving these lights around to find exactly where you want your light falling. So do check on your camera, on your viewfinder quite regularly to see what difference all of the changes in your lighting is making to your image. So I'm quite liking my balance of lighting right now, and you can see my settings here on the back of the camera. I've got 1/160th, I'm shooting at f2 to get that nice shallow depth of field, and ISO 100 to keep the grain down. Now these are liable to change a little bit, but I think for now this is a really good starting point, and as I fiddle with my lighting they might go up or down just a little bit, but you guys can start here and find what works for you. I'm liking where my shot is right now. It's got nice lighting. I've changed the balance a few times and taken a few different shots so that I have a few to choose from in post-processing, and I've left myself a lot of room to crop in afterwards and choose my framing as well. A lot of this shot is going to be make or break in post-processing, so I'm going to go and jump over to my computer and fiddle around with it, see what I like best, and maybe even try out black and white to see if that really enhances that contrast between the wood and the background. And there is my final image. I'm going to be submitting this into the challenge over on the Adaptalux Facebook community group. Obviously, I can't win anything, but we do have some prizes up for grabs. If you wanted to go and check out and enter your own wood-themed images, head over to the Facebook group, which I'll link down in the description of this video, but I'll also link the full announcement and theme video up in the top right-hand corner of your screen now. If you're watching this far in the future, then we will be having monthly themes every month, so you can check back in, make sure to hit the subscribe button and get the most recent monthly challenge going. With regards to my image, I didn't do all that much post-processing in the end. I turned it black and white, obviously, just to accentuate that contrast. I think it looks particularly nice when you have a high contrast in black and white like that. I did a bit more of a creative crop, elongating the crop so that it's got a little bit of space all the way around this long piece of wood. I did play with the curves a little bit to enhance that contrast, and I did enhance the vignette effect that was happening at the edges, and I'm pretty happy with the results. I'll go and post that over on the comment section of the community post, but I'd like to know what you guys think to it right here on YouTube. Put down in the comments your thoughts on this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, but for now that's all that I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.